Mutants of the East started as a mixtape exchange. So I continue to make mixtapes even though it's 2025. Love making mixtapes. There are actually some mixtape groups that are still around, and
Okay.
you get partnered up with someone and you make a mixtape from them and you send them that mix. And so what I was doing was the first couple of mixtapes that I made, I kind of had a few main bands on there because of course. And then it got to a point where I was like, man, I have so many main bands that I could use on a mixtape. That why don't I just make a mixtape just only full of main bands? And so the first main mixtape that I ever made for someone was called Mutants of the East.
And action!
Hello and welcome to another CineMAINEia Maine Attractions, where I talk with the folks in Maine's film and TV industry. And this week, I've got the great pleasure of interviewing Ryan von Ghoulsworth. Ryan, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Now, would you consider yourself a musician foremost, or?
My goodness, I honestly don't even know. I would say I guess it depends on what time period of my life. I think like maybe 10 years ago, I would have said probably a filmmaker. Right now, I'm kind of delving more into music, obviously, with the radio show and the label and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really label myself one thing, I suppose. I don't know if that's pretentious or not, but no, it's kind of hard for me to give a word that describes myself, I guess.
Right. No, and I forgot to mention, even though we talked about this off recording, you are a producer, a filmmaker, and radio DJ. But I guess earlier in your life, was music kind of the if given the choice between music, movies, art, was music kind of your entrance into the arts, or?
No. I think music for me was always like kind of in the background. When I was growing up, I can tell you certainly when I was in high school, what I wanted to do with my life was I wanted my own sketch comedy show on NBC. And I listened to one of the episodes of CineMAINEia, and I think you and I might be the same age or thereabouts. But I was really into Monty Python, Kids in the Hall, The State, stuff like that, and me and my friends would write and film ourselves doing skits, and that was legitimately what I saw myself doing at 17 years old. Is I literally wanted to write and perform sketch comedy, and I'm nowhere near doing that. That was good Lord, trying to do the math in my head. That was 25 years ago, I think. So a lot has changed. Particularly, especially with technology. Back in the day, I sketch comedy was live, and it was filmed live in front of a studio audience. And now, with the exception of SNL, sketch comedy is, done digitally and done remotely. It's like Key and Peele and Whitest Kids and that sort of thing. That's all done like post. There's a lot of post work there, but. Truth be told, that's what I wanted to do 25 years ago.
Yeah. Do you still watch Saturday Night Live on a regular basis?
Not on a regular basis. I mean, well,
No.
and that's the other thing that's changed too, is like nobody, I don't know if anyone actually watches TV live anymore.
Right.
I think most people watch SNL probably as clips on YouTube.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's what I do, is like, if I'm on YouTube, something will pop up and, I'll watch it there. But no, I don't watch SNL live anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah. Certainly haven't watched it live in a long time. We used to watch it on Hulu, the
Yep.
next day on Sundays, and I haven't ever since the 50th. I haven't even really been interested. They turned around a lot of cast, and I think I might be. They say the best cast is the one when you were a kid,
Mhm.
and so I almost feel like I might be growing out of new, like getting to know a new cast.
Yeah, I
you
get
know,
that. Yeah. I mean,
so
it's even newer now. Like there are like cast members that I still think of as new that aren't new. Like I don't think oh shoot, what's her name? Oh my goodness, she does all the impressions. Not Melissa Villaseñor. What's her name? Kate. Oh my god, I can't believe that I'm blanking on her name. She does the alien the skits where she's abducted.
Yeah,
My
Kate
goodness,
McKinnon.
what is Kate McKinnon? Thank you. So I got
Yeah.
her first name right. Kate.
Yeah.
Like I still think of those people as the new cast, but they're not even new anymore.
Right.
Yeah, so it's very bizarre.
Yeah. Interesting. But so as a kid doing the skits and things, how did that lead you to Damnation Land?
Oh my goodness. So I think like once my friends and I got to college, a lot of us we were going to film school.
Okay.
And the first school that I went to was SMCC, but back then it was a technical college, so it was SMTC, Southern Maine Technical College was what it was called when I went there, and we were shooting on tape, like, which is really crazy to think. We're like just giant like SVHS or VHS tapes, and then the school transitioned to a community college. I don't know, maybe like a decade later, something like that, or maybe even 5 years later. I don't know. But so I went there, and then I went to University of Southern Maine after that, and was doing like a media writing sort of thing, because I was getting more into like writing screenplays. But I kind of like my friends and I kind of transitioned into like making films over like skits after high school. So our college years were more like, I guess, film focused. And then my friend Ross Morin, he is the guy. This is a fun fact for you. He's the guy that coined the phrase the Citizen Kane of bad movies when describing Tommy Wiseau's The Room. So that's like one of my best friends. We went to high school together. We made skits together. And he was kind of the guy that brought The Room to the United States or worldwide or whatever you want to say. So anyways, we started making movies, and he went and got his master's at Ohio University and said, I think you would benefit from this. So I also applied to the program. So I ended up getting my master's at Ohio University and with the film program there.
Yeah.
And while I was there is how I saw the first trailer for the very, very first Damnation Land, which was back in 2010. I saw the trailer, and literally it was just me made horror movies. And I was making a lot of horror movies at the time, horror movies. And at that time, that's really what I wanted to do, is I wanted to like make like a horror feature. At some point in my life, I was doing a lot of horror shorts. I saw the first trailer and was like, oh my God, Maine horror movies? That's me. Why am I not doing this? Exactly. I gotta do this. So Damnation Land was co-created by three people. It was David Micklejohn, Alan Baldwin, and then Eddie Bowles. And I contacted them. I don't know if I might have reached out to someone.
Yeah.
I know what I did. I reached out to one of the actors because I actually went to school with them. It was Eric Moody. He's an actor, and he was in one of the Damnation Land movies. So I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, who should I contact about this?" And he gave me Alan Baldwin's email, and emailed him, and he said, "Yeah, give us some films to look at." So I sent him some films, and he wrote back and said, "This is great. We would love to have you as a filmmaker for 20." It would have been the 2012 showcase.
Yeah.
So I made a movie called Raid of the Vomit Blood Fiends for that festival that year. And 3 years after that, I became like pretty close with David Micklejohn, and he invited me to be a producer. So from 2015 to 2019, I was working as a producer for Damnation Land in some capacity.
Wow, yeah, that's a journey.
I know. I know. There's no easy answers. I feel like to any of these questions.
No, that's perfect. Just to go back 1 second, what were you concentrating on when you first went into film school? What was your goal?
I think I wanted to figure out how to I wanted to get more experience with filmmaking, because the only experience that I had at the time was just me and my friends, so I didn't really have any experience with like cinema lights and like or even like just like a large crew of people. Just never had done that before. And so I wanted to, because I had dreams of eventually making a feature-length film. That was always the goal. Still never did it, but it's fine. It's our lives change, and we're all butterflies, and we flourish and we change. So anyways, but that's why I went there. And while I was there, actually, I, funnily enough, became really good friends with a lot of the people in the film studies program. And so there were basically two facets of the film program at OU. One was film production, the other was film theory. Film theory was basically like, or film studies, I should say, was, talking about films and writing about films and learning about the, tricks behind filmmakers and their expertise and all that. And so I became friends with a lot of them, and started taking a lot of film studies classes, and just really loved writing. This is so weird to say, but I loved writing film essays. And I was writing a lot for fun. So then when I was kind of like en route to graduate with my master's, I was actually wanting to be a teacher. So I wanted to teach filmmaking to students, because I actually, one of the cool things about being at OU was, if you're in the master's program, you actually got to teach classes to undergraduates. So I taught a couple film theory classes, and then I taught some screenwriting classes as well while I was there, and just fell in love with it. And actually, speaking of, sorry, I'm going off on all these tangents. But speaking of SNL, I actually knew someone who, I forget his name, but he was on SNL for a very brief time, and he was not a student of mine, but he was friends with a lot of the students that I had, because there was this improv group that used to perform every Thursday. So a lot of my students were like, "Oh, you got to come see us do improv." So I would go every Thursday and watch my students. And I'm so sorry that I forget this kid's name, but he was on SNL for a very brief time. And then also fun fact, another person who was improving when I would go there was Patty Harrison, and Patty Harrison is like literally one of the greatest comedians right now.
Okay.
She has worked with Tina Fey, and it's so that was really awesome to see all these like students do actually really cool things after
Yeah.
you know, hanging
Interesting.
out with them and teaching them and all that. So
Yeah. So when you were writing film essays, were there any from that time that really stood out to you? Movies that really, really impacted you or really stood out?
oh goodness, yeah. Let's see. We watched. So I took a class called Film Fantastique, and I was taught by an amazing professor named Alfred Elias.
Mm.
He taught a course called Film Fantastique, and it was basically European horror
Huh.
movies. And so we watched a lot of Jean Rollin, and we watched Requiem for a Vampire. Phenomenal movie. That one was great.
Mm.
And God, I'm trying to think. Oh, I took an experimental film class with Ruth Bradley, who was not a teacher. She was just the kind of, I don't know if she was an owner of the Athena, which was the art house cinema in town. But she taught an experimental class because she was actually friends with a lot of like famous experimental filmmakers like the Kuchar brothers and Stan Brakhage and things like that. And so
Hmm.
she was also friends with oh my goodness, oh shoot, I forget her name. Barbara Hammer. Barbara Hammer. She was sort of a lesbian queer feminist filmmaker of
Hmm.
the 70s, and she actually came up to OU and did a performance. And if you search hard enough, you can actually see me in that performance because it was filmed, and I kind of stuck my way into the performance, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But anyways, to cut this short, yes, there was a lot of amazing
Yeah,
movies that
yeah,
I
yeah.
got to watch while I was there.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I took in college. I wasn't quite yet interested in movies as much as I am, but I did take like a film appreciation or something like that.
Yeah,
Obviously, in school, it was more like, oh, this is a class where you get to watch movies or whatever. But
yeah,
then, yeah,
it's
and then
amazing.
you had to write stuff. But that did I was introduced to movies I probably would have never watched,
Mhm.
like Malcolm X and no, not Malcolm X, American History
American History
X,
X, yeah, yeah,
and
very
Falling
different
Down.
movies.
Yeah, yes, very true. Falling Down, which I loved.
Mhm. Is that the Robert Zemeckis? Is that
Uh,
with
Michael Douglas.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's the basis for I don't know which music video, but Foo Fighters did a music video that rips it off. But yeah, it's just where he's having
Oh,
he goes to a breaking point and he goes through a kind of a rampage type of thing.
so it was
Um,
Joel Schumacher, not Robert
oh,
Zemeckis.
okay. I
Ron
didn't
Dover.
I didn't know either way. But those are always nice classes to at least get a little, I guess, into what kind of symbolisms and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Very cool. Um, so let's go back to Damnation Land, and we talked about it. We mentioned the name quite a bit, but can you describe like what is Damnation Land for those folks that have never ever heard of that?
Yeah, it's a film festival, but it's not a festival in the same way that you like submit a movie. Like a lot of filmmakers will go and they have already made the movie and then they submit the movie. It's kind of like an application, like festivals will choose what movies. This is
Yeah.
actually specifically curated, so the producers of Damnation Land actually will invite you to make a movie specifically for the showcase, and it's
Okay.
all Maine-made filmmakers. And every October, they screen all the films that were made for that year. But yeah, you basically have to get invited, and and then the world premiere of your movie is at Damnation Land in October that year. So
very cool. And you said your initially your role was as a producer. What kinds of things were you responsible for?
Yeah, I think when I started, it was more, I think, general, and then it kind of got more specific as the years went by. But one thing that I wanted to do for it was like I wanted to focus a little bit on branding, and so the moose skull that they use, I wanted to create a mascot out of that, which they still use to this day in like flyers and sort of artwork and things like that. But I thought that branding was particularly important. So Alan Baldwin was wearing a Damnation Land shirt for like a previous year. It might have been 2011 or something, but it said Damnation Land. It was a moose skull silhouette on it. And I was just like, that's Damnation Land to me. I think we should do something with that. So it's cool to see that they still use it, even though I don't do anything with Damnation Land anymore. But but that is cool. So I was doing that a little bit. And then Eddie Bowles really wanted to do, he grew up with like movie soundtracks, as did I, and he always wanted to create like a movie soundtrack where we invite bands, kind of like the best way to like to describe it is like you have the Godzilla soundtrack that came out in 1998. It's one of the most fun movie soundtracks ever, and a lot of those songs, those artists were invited to record a song for it. So that's what kind of he wanted to do. And this is a great segue into the music side of things, because I was pretty well versed in the music scene, and have been for a very long time. I was able to go, okay, Eddie, you want to do that? I got it. I'm going to do it. And so we enlisted the help of Remy Brecht, and we just asked a bunch of bands to record a song specifically for Damnation Land. And so that kind of, as the years went on, that was kind of more my focus. And that was probably one of the more fun things that I would do for Damnation Land was the soundtracks. And one year we actually got one of the artists to actually perform at the live screening, Colleen Clark. She performed a couple of covers, and then her original song that she wrote, which was called How Nothing Feels. That was so cool to see her perform on stage. And you know, she was just someone that like literally lived in the same apartment as some friends of mine, and that's how we got her to write a song for us. So but yeah,
nice. And so how did that that change in roles, how did that kind of lead to the formation of Mutants of the East?
Great question. So Mutants of the East started as a mixtape exchange. So I continued to make mixtapes even though it's 2025. Love making mixtapes. There are actually some mixtape groups that are still around, and you get partnered up with someone and you make a mixtape from them and you send them that mix. And so what I was doing was the first couple of mixtapes that I made, I kind of had a few main bands on there because of course. And then it got to a point where I was like, man, I have so many main bands that I could use on a mixtape. That why don't I just make a mixtape just only full of main bands? And so the first main mixtape that I ever made for someone was called Mutants of the East. And then eventually I created an Instagram page called Mutants of the East. And it was just to showcase like all the sort of physical records and cassette tapes from Maine bands that I've collected over the past like 25 years. And I would just like take pictures of these and kind of like it was more historical more than anything. And then I started a show at WMPG. I reached out to them and said, you know, I want to have a radio show. I've always wanted to have a radio show. So I finally got one, and I ended up calling it Mutants of the East, where I play a lot of these bands that I, you know, kind of like Pokemon, where I just like collected all these awesome bands. So I started doing that, and a lot of these bands never did anything with their music. A lot of the stuff they only released on like an MP3 and, you know, put it on. There used to be a website 25 years ago called like mainpunks.net or .com. I can't remember what it was, but there was a Maine Punks website, and these bands would put MP3s on there. And so I used to download all these MP3 files, but they never did anything with them. They never released any albums or whatever. So I just had this idea that, you know, this music is so cool and it impacted my life so much that I would love to actually give these like an official release. And so earlier this year, I decided to start Mutants of the East as a record label and release these bands on vinyl and cassette tape and all of that. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm curious, how do you curate a mixtape, especially for someone you don't know or have never met?
So these groups, these mixtape trades, usually there'll be like a theme.
Okay.
And it could be like road trip or fire or whatever. So you kind of just like, you get a sense of what they like for music. Because there's a form that you fill out and you receive this like, you know, this little description of your partner.
Okay.
And I'll say like, I like this, but I don't like this. And then you kind of try to make the mixtape based around that. And so, so it's fun. It's complex in a lot of ways because you have to do a lot of thinking. But yeah, so stuff like that. Yeah. I have so much music that it's actually not hard to like find stuff that would fit a theme or fit, you know, what someone would like for music. So
yeah, and these are folks all over the world.
Yep. I've sent stuff to Ireland and France and all over the world.
Very cool. I do want to talk about the WMPG show.
Sure.
And so you talked about how that came about, but I guess just describe what's kind of the format of the show, or the theme of the show, or what do you do with the show for those who maybe haven't heard it?
Yeah, sometimes it kind of depends on the mood I'm in, because it's every Wednesday night, and you know, sometimes I'll play only metal or only punk or only ambient or only surf or stuff from the 80s, you know. A lot of times it's just like a hodgepodge of stuff that I'm listening to at the time. And then I sometimes do a segment called 5 Songs where I invite someone in the Maine music scene to come on the show, and I ask them to choose 5 songs from 5 Maine bands that they really like, and we'll play the songs, listen to them, and then I ask them questions about why they chose that song. And so sometimes I do stuff like that, but yeah, most of the time it's just playing a wide range of artists that are all based in Maine in some way.
When you first started, were you nervous at all about making this kind of, it seems like it's, I mean, you did talk about being a teacher, so it's not as big of a change as maybe I might have thought, going from music production to public speaking, but were you nervous at all about?
Oh, I very much was. Yeah, it was absolutely like, I have the first episode saved on my computer. I haven't listened to it in a long time, but the thing with like radio, when you're doing a radio show, a lot of stuff that you don't realize that you have to do is like you have to remember to say the station ID on the hour every hour. You have to like say you have to read from a script of like some overwriting campaigns, and so you have to like read stuff, and then you have to play promos, so there's a lot that you have to remember to do, and I remember being there the first night and being so nervous because I was like, I have to remember to do everything. I don't want to get in trouble. And then also, like, you don't know who's listening too, so you think when I first started, I thought like everybody was listening, so I was very, very nervous. And but now that I've been doing it for about 3 years, I'm like, no one's listening, and I'm just, like, I'm alone in the studio at midnight, and I kind of just like. Now it's gotten to the point where I'm just like yelling and screaming, and and so but it's funny. Like 3 years ago when I first started, I was incredibly nervous.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic example, because even with this here at the beginning of this podcast, I had to go back and say those things: producer, filmmaker, DJ, that we talked about, and I wrote down to say, and I still forgot.
Exactly. It's live, so like, oops, if you messed up, you messed up, go back.
I still forgot to say them, so no, that's funny. And this is a weekly show.
Yep. It's weekly, yep.
What do you feel is the hardest part about producing a weekly show?
Making it different every week, I think, is probably the hardest thing, because you have to, because like I have a full-time job, and it's like you have to like curate a show every week, and so I try to not play the same bands all the time, although I do. There are bands that I really like that I play often, but I try to play as much diverse stuff as I can. And then the other thing too is that because there's doing this show, I've learned that there's so much out there in the past. Like I've played stuff from 1958, like there's just so many decades of Maine music that I have to get through, that it kind of inhibits me to see what the newer stuff is. So I think that's really hard, is like keeping up with all the new music that's coming out. I try to be like, we have WMPG has Local Motives, which is they bring on new bands that are cool and hip in the scene right now, and they come on the show and play live. So Local Motives kind of does the newer stuff, and I try to do that as well, but at least there's a show on WMPG that does showcase a lot of these newer bands that maybe I'm not playing, but that is, I will say, really hard, because I'm focusing I'm sort of inundated with like all these older musicians and bands that have existed, for it's crazy that I sometimes forget, there's actually some cool new bands that are out too.
And then you said, so when did you say folks can listen to this live?
It's every Wednesday night from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Okay. And is
90.9 WMPG.
Perfect. And is there a place like on the website or something they can listen afterwards?
Yep.
If they miss it?
There's so all the shows, if you can't stay up that late to listen to it live, if you go to WMPG, you can search for my show Mutants of the East, or you can even type in Mutants of the East WMPG on Google, and it'll take you to the archive page, and you can listen to past shows there.
Yeah, perfect. So you had mentioned that the current kind of genesis of Mutants of the East is the record label, folks, you gave me some good information, because you've got some merch on the actual website. You've got there's a they're the movie and music related. And I learned from your merch that Leatherface is from Maine, is from Maine. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I get a lot of pushback from that because technically he's Icelandic,
Yeah.
but he lived in Maine literally the year after so the guy who played Leatherface in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, his name is Gunnar Hansen.
Yeah.
I believe it's the year after he filmed Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he moved to Maine and basically had lived in Maine the entire time after he filmed that movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little jokey shirt.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fun idea, but I get a lot of people going like, "He's actually not a Mainer."
Right? Yeah. No, it's
like,
kind of.
I didn't realize it would be so provocative, that statement.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. It's just, instead of feeling proud that somebody in a major lived in your home state, preferred to live in your home state over any other state in America.
Yeah. Exactly.
You have to quantify it with that he wasn't born. But I thought that was cool. That was very cool. And then there's the Collinsport bumper sticker, which is funny. The way that we got connected is I think you initially had maybe started following CineMAINEia on Instagram, and then I obviously followed back and checked it out. And the first thing that I saw was the promotional stuff for Tomb Petty Torpedoes of the Damned album.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the pre-sales have ended. They ended before we even started recording, but I am a huge Tom Petty fan, and so I did want to kind of talk about the record. So how did that come? How did that come to be, something that you were releasing?
For sure. Yeah, so back in 2019, there was a band that performed one show, and they were basically a joke band, and they played a Halloween show back in 2019. Full disclosure, I was not at the show. I didn't go to the show.
Sure.
I had seen excuse me, I'd seen a flyer, I believe. And I think the flyer had their name, Tomb Petty and the Heart Takers, and then I think it said like Halloween parodies of Tom Petty songs or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was just like immediately like, yes, I know, I'm all in. I gotta track this down. And I didn't know any of the band members. So I think what I had to do was find out the other bands that were on the bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I contacted someone who was in one of the bands on that bill. I said, "Do you know who's in this band?" And she had given me some names, and I had reached out to Joelle, who is the lyricist who wrote all the Tom Petty parodies. And she was also, I don't know if she played guitar as well, but she calls it crypt keys. So it's like I don't know if it was like a computer or whatever, but she would also do like sound effects when she played at the show. She would like have like screams queued up and like Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt lines lined up that she played live. And so I had emailed her or reached out to her on Instagram or something, and I said, "Do you have any recordings of this band that I can have?" And she did not have recordings of the show, but she had recordings of when they practiced, maybe the week of or the day before the actual show that they played. So I have the recordings of their practice session. And so that's what I used for this vinyl release, is their practice session.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So I think I mentioned before that the pre-sales had ended on that particular thing. Is there any plan for any additional release, or are you keeping it pretty limited to those pre-sale orders?
So there will be leftovers. So you have to have, like, when you put in, when you order records, you'll put in a number, and so while it is limited, I have to order a certain amount, so there will be leftovers of the album. So I'll send out records for the people that had already ordered it for the pre-sale, and I'll put all the leftovers on the website afterwards. So if those go and I get sold out, then maybe somewhere down the line there'll be another release of it.
Yeah, excellent. Well, you were very kind enough to bring along Scream Falling from the album, which we will play at the end of the episode. So I want to thank you for that.
Hell yeah.
And what's coming up for Mutants, the record label that you're excited about, or just coming up for folks to know about?
Yeah, for sure. So I am also trying to delve into movies. And so I have so the thing with Mutants of the East is it's all Maine stuff. I don't know if I had said that, but the record label. I know the show is all Maine stuff, but also with the record label, it's all Maine related. And because I know a lot of filmmakers from like Dirty Animation Land, I want to release some horror movies, some Maine horror movies on VHS tape through Lunch Meat. And Lunch Meat is a VHS distribution company, probably the biggest in the game right now. They've been around for maybe 20 years, maybe a little less. But I am good friends with Josh Schaefer, the owner of Lunch Meat, and I had reached out to him if he would be interested in doing a collaboration where I have some Maine horror movies that we can release on VHS. And so the one that I think we were going to try to have it come out this December, but I think it's actually going to come out next year. I was just on this email thread earlier this morning talking about this, but you've heard it here first. Kyle Rankin, who won, him and a guy by the name of Ephraim Patel, they won Project Greenlight, which is the Matt Damon and Ben Affleck produced thing. Way 20 years ago, they won Project Greenlight, and that led them to make Battle at Shaker Heights with Shia LaBeouf. So Kyle Rankin and Ephraim Patel are from Maine, and back when I was at SMTC, my advisor had actually put me in touch with one of them because I was wanting to make movies, and so that's how I first contacted them, was like way back in the day, 25 years ago. They had actually made a movie called Reindeer Games back in 1996, and I wanted to release that on VHS because it never got a VHS release. It got a DVD release sometime in the mid 2000s. But I want to under a different title. Say. But I wanted to release it with its original title. It was changed because of, surprisingly and coincidentally, the Ben Affleck movie called Reindeer. Right. But they actually made this horror movie, years before Ben Affleck's movie came out. So anyway, so that's kind of on the docket right now. I'm excited about that. Excited about releasing some more Maine horror movies on VHS. I have a couple more music releases coming out too. Nothing. I don't know what the next release is going to be because I am talking to multiple bands right now. I think the thing is getting like all the music like mastered and ready, and then the artwork ready, and that sort of thing. It's kind of funny, like you don't realize that you need all of this stuff until you're actually doing it. So I don't know what that actual next music release is going to be. So I'll be surprised as much as anyone else.
Yeah, nice. Well, before we let you go, there's another interest of yours which I'm also a little interested in my wife as well, and that's ghost. I call it ghost tourism, tourism and stuff like that. So, what are your favorite spots?
So my wife and I, a couple of years ago, we did a ghost tour in Boston, which was really fun. but actually, my favorite thing that we did was we did a ghost tour in Portland, Maine, and learned a lot of really cool facts.
Yeah.
We learned that there was, so in the old port, because there are because the old port is old, the streets have been paved over so many times,
Yeah.
and so people have seen like half ghosts because the ghosts are actually walking on the road that they first walked on,
Yeah.
So I was like, that's really cool. And then I was told that we were told this story about there was someone working in an office building, and her office faced the ocean, and she saw this giant ship floating right outside her window, and there was like a mermaid, like how ships used to have like a wooden mermaid at the end, and she was like, holy crap, what's going on? And what is the scariest thing to me is learning that the old port at one point used to be covered in ocean water,
right,
and so I like that. To me is so scary to think of a ghost ship sailing on water that used to be where the ocean level was. Like, that's crazy to me. So anyway, I love doing ghost tours like that. What about you? Your favorite spots?
Well, ghost tour wise, we've only done one so far, which is in Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
We did the garage ghost tour, but we watch a lot of the stuff on Discovery Plus. Portals to Hell with Jack Osborne was a huge favorite, and Ghost Brothers. And so I just thought that was interesting. Do you have any like a top one or two paranormal experiences?
So I don't, but my wife has an amazing story with video evidence, actually. And there's this podcast that we listen to called Spooked. And it's one of our favorite podcasts. They basically bring on regular people who have had like a paranormal experience, and they tell their story, and that's the podcast. So good. And I've been trying to get her to tell this story because it's so good. When she was like 12 years old, her and her friends went into like a school after hours, and she had her friend was filming. And my wife, Holly, she walked past a classroom, and out of the corner of her eye, she saw a little boy sitting in a desk in the middle of the classroom. And it scared her, and she walked past one door, and then when she got to the second door of this classroom, there was nothing in the middle of the classroom. And when they went home to look at the footage, there is a silhouette on video, and I've seen it. Her friend digitized the video. It is there. The little ghost boy is there in the middle of the classroom. It's very creepy. So that's her experience. I'm sharing that because I have had no experience whatsoever. But I tell that story because it's just so good.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I personally I have not had an experience either, but so you're obviously a horror genre or horror, fan of the genre. What, not necessarily top, but what are like 3 must sees for just a norm, like a maybe someone getting into horror or something like that?
Sure. So I would say my favorite horror movie of all time is Suspiria from 1977, directed by Dario Argento. I think that to me is a quintessential horror movie. If you haven't seen it, go out, watch it. And then The Innocents from, I think, 1962 with Deborah Kerr. Great, terrifying movie. It's an adaptation of Shirley Jackson, I think, The Turn of the Screw. I think that's Shirley Jackson. Jackson.
Okay.
Return of this. Yep, Shirley Jackson. That is a terrifying movie. And then in that episode that I listened with you and oh goodness, David Michael.
Yeah.
Johnson, is that his name? David Michael Brown. David Michael Brown. You had mentioned Blair Witch Project, and funnily enough, Blair Witch Project is one of my favorite horror movies of all time because I saw that in theaters, scared the crap out of me. And you had mentioned in that episode Blair Witch spoof, like there was a time where people were making a lot of Blair Witch spoofs because it was easy to make. Because I collect VHS, I have like 14 or 15 Blair Witch spoofs that I have found in my 25 years of VHS collecting. So not only am I a fan of Blair Witch Project, I'm a fan of Blair Witch spoofs. So if anyone has a Blair Witch spoof, send it my way. I want to know what it is. But yeah, I think those would be the three.
Yeah, nice. And then my last question. You had, just to tie it right back into Maine, you had some interesting interactions with Stephen King in a previous job. Can you just tell us what those were?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question. Yeah, I used to work at Dairy Queen in Auburn, Maine. When I was in college. And Stephen King was just like a regular customer. I think his mom at the time was there's a place called Clover Manor, and I think she was living there at the time. This could be wrong, so don't quote me on this, but I think that's why he used to be in Auburn a lot. But he would come in, and the first time that I saw him, so I was a cook when I was working there, and I would kind of peer through the pass-through, and I saw this guy. And my first thought was like, oh my God, that guy looks like Stephen King.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen Stephen King in real life before, so I didn't realize how tall he was. So I kind of did a double take, and he saw that I was looking at him. And I remember thinking, oh wait, that is Stephen King. Oh, that is Stephen King. But he would come in and he would ask for a small vanilla cone every single time. That was his go-to. So if anyone wanted to know what Stephen King's go-to ice cream cone, small vanilla cone.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ryan, so much for agreeing to come on. And
of course,
it's fantastic. And where do you want people to find you?
You can find me on Mutants of the East on Instagram. Mutantsoftheeast.com is the Instagram page, or sorry, the website that has all the final records and stuff. And then listen to my show on WMPG 90.9 Wednesdays 11:30 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Ryan. And as promised, here's Scream Fallen.
She's a good girl, loves her murder, loves Satan, and America too. She's a goblin, crazy about malice, loves horses, and her boy fiend too. It's a long day
CineMAINEia is hosted and produced by Derek Brown, Mike Pritchard, and Nick Costigan. Editing and sound design by Bud and Bird Media. Email us at mainfilmpod@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at CineMAINEia.
All right. Well, see you later.